The stars shone brightly over the Nevada desert as Dr. Ellie Summers pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders. The night air was cold, but she barely noticed. Her attention was fixed on the computer screen in front of her, displaying a pattern of signals that made no sense. For 3 weeks, the Deep Space Listening Array had been picking up the same unusual transmission from beyond Neptune. At first, she thought it was an error. Now, she was certain it wasn't. Ellie took a sip of her coffee and looked up at the massive satellite dishes pointed at the sky. The year was 2087, and humanity had made great progress in space. There were people living on Mars now. Ships traveled regularly to the moons of Jupiter, but no one had ever found proof of alien life. Until today, perhaps. "You're still here?" asked a friendly voice behind her. Ellie turned to see her colleague, Dr. Peter Collins, walking toward her desk with 2 fresh cups of coffee. He placed one beside her keyboard. "Thanks, Peter. And yes, I'm still looking at the signal." She pointed to the screen. "It repeats every 147 minutes exactly. That's not natural." Peter leaned closer to look. "Could be a pulsar." "No pulsar behaves this way," Ellie said. "And look at this pattern here. It's too regular, too precise. This is artificial, Peter. Someone made this." Peter's eyes widened. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying we need to run more tests before we tell anyone." Ellie saved the data and stood up. "Let's use the backup systems to confirm. If we're picking up the same signal tomorrow, we'll tell Director Harris." 3 months later, Ellie stood nervously in front of 5 screens showing the faces of world leaders. The President of the United States sat in the middle, looking both excited and worried. The Director of NASA was beside Ellie, nodding encouragingly. "The signal is definitely artificial," Ellie explained, trying to keep her voice steady. "After 2 months of sending our own transmissions toward the source, we received a response. The mathematics in the message proves it's intelligent communication. And, you're certain this is coming from outside our solar system?" asked the German Chancellor. "Yes, ma'am. The source is approximately 48 light-years away. The response suggests their technology allows for faster communication than we thought possible." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Humanity was not alone. "What exactly did they say in this response?" asked the President. Ellie took a deep breath. "They call themselves the Jacquard. Their first message translates roughly to, 'We hear you, Earth. We have been watching. We will speak soon.' Within weeks, the Jacquard communications became clearer. They shared images of their world, a planet with 2 moons and vast cities that stretched across entire continents. They described technology that seemed magical to human scientists, ships that could bend space, energy sources that never ran out, and materials stronger than anything on Earth. People around the world celebrated. Religious leaders debated what it meant. Scientists worked day and night to understand the new information. The United Nations formed a special committee called the Interstellar Communications Committee, or ICC. Admiral John Mason, a respected military leader known for his calm thinking, was chosen to lead it. Ellie was named Chief Science Advisor. For the first few months, everything seemed wonderful. The Jacquard asked many questions about Earth, and humans eagerly shared information about their cultures, technologies, and history. Earth sent images of cities, oceans, and forests. They shared music and art. They explained their science and asked for advice to solve problems like climate change and disease. The Jacquard responses were friendly at first, but something began to change. Ellie noticed it first in the tone of their messages. "They seem amused by us," she told Admiral Mason one evening as they reviewed the latest transmission, "like adults talking to children." Mason nodded slowly. "I've noticed that too. They've stopped asking about our art or philosophies. Now they just want to know about our technology and resources." The next transmission confirmed their fears. The Jacquard sent a message that was broadcast worldwide before the ICC could review it. "People of Earth, we have studied your civilization with great interest. Your determination to advance despite your many limitations is admirable. However, we find your technology extremely primitive. You still burn fossil fuels. You still die from simple diseases. Your fastest ships would take thousands of years to reach even your closest neighboring stars? How have you survived this long? People were shocked. Some were angry. Others worried that the aliens were right. Humans were primitive compared to the Jacquard. A week later, another message came. We have decided to send representatives to your solar system. A small delegation will arrive within 6 months. Perhaps with proper guidance, your species can be improved. The ICC headquarters became the busiest place on Earth. Leaders from every nation met to discuss how to respond. Some wanted to welcome the Jacquard with open arms. Others feared their intentions. Ellie worked with a team of scientists to learn as much as possible from the transmissions. One afternoon, a young physicist named Dr. William Carter came to her office. Dr. Summers, I've been analyzing the Jacquard, descriptions of their faster-than-light technology, and something doesn't add up, he said, placing a tablet on her desk. They claim to use a gravity manipulation system, but the equations they've shared contain a fundamental contradiction. Ellie studied the numbers and frowned. Are you saying they're lying about their technology? Or deliberately misleading us? Carter ran a hand through his messy brown hair. Why would an advanced civilization share incorrect science? Ellie remembered the mocking tone of recent transmissions. Maybe they don't think we're smart enough to notice. That evening, Ellie took Carter to meet Admiral Mason. They explained their concerns in the Admiral's secure office. If they're lying about this, what else might they be hiding? Mason asked, his face grim. I don't know, Ellie admitted, but I think we should be careful about what information we share with them from now on. As they left the office, Ellie looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, the Jacquard were coming to Earth. Were they coming as friends, as teachers, or as something else entirely? The mockery continued in each new transmission. The Jacquard began to call Earth a cosmic embarrassment, and humans barely evolved primates. Yet they insisted their coming visit was to help humanity join the galactic community. Admiral Mason ordered new security protocols and quietly began preparing Earth's defenses just in case. Ellie and Carter worked with a systems analyst named Olivia Martinez to find more inconsistencies in the Jacquard messages. 6 months seemed to pass both too quickly and too slowly. Then one night, observatories around the world spotted something entering the solar system, moving faster than any object ever recorded. The Jacquard had arrived, and Earth was not ready. The Jacquard ship hung in space just beyond the moon's orbit, glowing with a soft blue light. It was shaped like a perfect sphere, with no visible engines or windows. Earth's most powerful telescopes could not see any details on its smooth surface. It was about the size of a small island, and it had traveled from another star system in just 6 months. People all over Earth looked up at the night sky to catch a glimpse of the alien ship. Some were excited, some were scared, most were both. Inside the ICC headquarters, Admiral Mason stared at the large screen showing the Jacquard vessel. The room was filled with military officers, scientists, and government officials. Everyone spoke in low, worried voices. Any response to our greeting message? Mason asked. A communications officer shook her head. Nothing yet, sir. They've been silent since entering orbit. Dr. Ellie Summers walked in with Dr. William Carter and Olivia Martinez. They looked tired. They had been working day and night studying everything they knew about the Jacquard. Admiral, Ellie said, we found something important. Mason led them to a private room where they could talk safely. Olivia set up her computer and showed a series of charts. The Jacquard have been very careful about what technology they share with us, she explained. But they've made mistakes. Small ones, but enough for us to notice. Carter pointed to one of the charts. Their faster-than-light travel descriptions don't match the way their ship actually moves, and their energy readings are all wrong for the type of power they claim to use. What does that mean? Mason asked. It means they're lying, Ellie said, simply. They want us to think they're more advanced than they really are, or they're hiding their real technology from us. Before Mason could respond, an alarm sounded. The Jacquard were finally sending a message. They rushed back to the main. On the large screen, a face appeared. It was unlike anything humans had seen before. The Jacquard had gray-blue skin, large eyes with no visible pupils and no nose, just small breathing holes. Their mouths were wide and lipless. This one wore something that looked like a uniform made of shining material. "People of Earth, the War," Alien said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Vexitool of the Jacquard Collective. We have come as promised." The voice was flat and cold. There was no warmth or friendliness in it. "Ambassador Vexitool," Admiral Mason replied, stepping forward. "On behalf of Earth, welcome to our solar system. We are eager to establish peaceful relations with your people." The Jacquard's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. "Peaceful relations? Yes, that would be best for you. We have studied your weapons. They are as primitive as the rest of your technology." The room grew quiet. The insult was clear. "Perhaps," Mason said carefully, "we could arrange a meeting to discuss how our civilizations might benefit each other." "Benefit?" Vexitol made a sound like laughter. "What benefit could we possibly get from you? Your most advanced computers are toys to us. Your understanding of physics is childish. Your cities are dirty. Your oceans are full of plastic. And you still fight wars among yourselves over imaginary lines on your planet." People in the room looked at each other, shocked by the alien's rudeness. "Nevertheless," Mason continued, keeping his voice calm, "we would like to meet with you in person." Vexitool stared silently for a moment. "Very well. We will send 3 representatives to your United Nations building in 3 days. Prepare your world leaders. We have much to discuss about Earth's future." The screen went dark. "Well," Ellie said, breaking the silence, "they're not even pretending to be friendly anymore." In the 3 days before the meeting, the Jacquard ship remained in orbit. Occasionally it would move, demonstrating speeds that amazed Earth's scientists. Each time, it would broadcast the maneuvers worldwide, as if showing off. Carter and Olivia worked without sleeping, studying every bit of data from the ship. Ellie joined them when she wasn't helping prepare for the meeting. "Look at this," Carter said on the second night. He pointed to his computer screen, which showed the energy readings from the Jacquard ship during one of its maneuvers. "There's a pattern here." "What kind of pattern?" Ellie asked, leaning closer. "The ship gives off a specific kind of light right before it moves. Not just visible light, a wide spectrum of radiation. It's almost like..." "Like what?" Olivia prompted. When he trailed off, Carter's eyes widened with sudden understanding. "Like they're using light itself as part of their propulsion system. That's not what they told us in their messages. They said they used gravity manipulation." Ellie's heart beat faster. If they lied about that, what else are they hiding? The day of the meeting, the United Nations building in New York was surrounded by security. World leaders gathered in the main hall, nervous but trying to appear confident. Admiral Mason stood with the President of the United States at the front of the room. At exactly noon, a bright light appeared in the center of the hall. When it faded, 3 Jacquard stood there. They were taller than humans, with the same gray-blue skin as Ambassador Vexitool. They wore no protective gear, showing they could breathe Earth's air. "I am Vexitool," said the one in the middle. "These are my associates, Krendor and Mazvin. We represent the Jacquard Collective." The President stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth. We hope this meeting will be the beginning of a friendly relationship between our peoples." Vexitool made that strange laughing sound again. "Friendly? Perhaps, but not equal. We did not travel all this way for friendship." "Then why did you come?" Mason asked. "To claim what is ours," Vexitool replied. "Your solar system lies within territory the Collective has marked for expansion. We have surveyed many worlds, and yours has useful resources and an adaptable worker species. You." The room erupted in shocked voices. The President raised a hand for quiet. "We are not workers to be claimed," he said firmly. "Earth belongs to humanity." All 3 Jacquard laughed this time. "How amusing," Vexitool said. "Your assertion would matter if you had the power to enforce it. You do not." From a hidden pocket, Vexitool removed a small device and held it up. This contains billions of nanobots that have already been released into your atmosphere. They are now in the bodies of every human on Earth. With one signal from our ship, they can paralyze your entire species. Fear filled the room. Some leaders stepped back. Others shouted in anger. "This is an act of war," the president said, his voice shaking. "No," Bextol corrected. "This is an act of colonization. War suggests two sides have a chance of winning." The alien's cold eyes swept across the room. "You have 48 hours to surrender formal control of your governments to the Jakar Collective. If you do not, we will activate the nanobots and take control anyway." Before anyone could respond, the three aliens disappeared in another flash of light. In the chaos that followed, Mason's secure phone rang. It was Ellie. "Admiral," she said urgently. "Carter has figured out how their technology works. We need you at the lab right now." Mason looked at the frightened faces of Earth's leaders. For the first time in his life, he felt true fear, but also strangely hope. "I'm on my way," he said. Admiral Mason's car sped through the streets of New York. Emergency vehicles raced in all directions. People were panicking after news of the Jakar threat spread. Some ran for their homes. Others gathered in churches and parks, looking up at the sky where the alien ship could be seen as a bright dot even in daylight. 20 minutes later, Mason arrived at a building that looked like an ordinary office. Inside, however, was one of the ICC's secret labs. Ellie met him at the elevator. "This way," she said, leading him to a room filled with computers and strange equipment. Dr. Carter and Olivia were inside, looking at a large screen covered with equations and diagrams. "What have you found?" Mason asked. Carter turned around, his eyes bright with excitement despite his obvious exhaustion. "Their weakness," he said. "The Jakar have been lying about almost everything." "Explain," Mason said, taking a seat. Olivia pressed some buttons and the screen showed images of the Jakar ship. "We noticed something odd about their ship's energy signature," she said. "Every time it moves or uses any technology, it emits a specific pattern of light across multiple wavelengths. At first, we thought it was just waste energy," Carter added. "But it's not. The light itself is their technology. They manipulate light in ways we never imagined possible." Ellie nodded. "They don't bend space like they told us. They don't have magic engines. What they do have is the ability to control light particles, photons, with incredible precision. They use them for everything: communication, travel, power, even their weapons." Mason looked confused. "How does this help us?" "Because," Carter said, "any system that relies on one specific thing has a specific weakness." He typed some commands and the screen showed a new set of diagrams. "If we could generate the right kind of light pattern, essentially creating an interference pattern, we could disrupt their systems." "Like shining a flashlight at them?" Mason asked doubtfully. "Not exactly," Olivia said. "We would need something much more powerful and precise, like a network of satellites equipped with specialized lasers. Do we have those?" Ellie hesitated. "No, but we could build them. The technology isn't beyond our capabilities." Mason checked his watch. "We have less than 47 hours before their deadline." "We know," Carter said. "That's why we need your authorization. Now. We need every satellite manufacturer on Earth working on this immediately." Mason thought for a moment, then nodded. "You'll have it. I'll call the president right away." He stood up. "But what about the nanobots they released? Even if we disable their ship, they could still hurt billions of people." Carter smiled for the first time in days. "That's the best part. We don't think the nanobots exist." "What?" "It's another lie," Ellie explained. "We've been running tests, on air and blood samples since their announcement. There's nothing there. No nanobots in the atmosphere, no foreign objects in any human blood samples we've tested. They're bluffing," Olivia said. "They want us to surrender without a fight." Mason felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Keep working," he said. "I'll get you everything you need." Within hours, the plan was approved at the highest levels. The project was named Sunflare. Every major space agency and technology company on Earth was brought in. People worked around the clock, building satellites based on Carter's designs. Existing satellites were quickly modified. New ones were launched from every available rocket. Engineers solved problems in minutes that would normally take months. It was the greatest cooperative effort in human history. While this happened, Earth's governments pretended to discuss surrender terms with the Jacquard. They asked for more time, argued over details, and generally stalled. Admiral Mason led these negotiations, keeping the aliens distracted while the real work continued. "Your delaying tactics are obvious," Ambassador Vexitool said during one video call, 36 hours into the deadline. "It changes nothing. In 12 hours, we will take control, with or without your formal surrender. We are simply trying to understand the terms," Mason replied calmly. "If we are to be your workers, we need to know what that means for our people." Vexitol's lipless mouth formed that cold smile again. "It means you will live, Admiral. Isn't that enough? Other species have not been so fortunate." In the lab, Carter hadn't slept in 2 days. He checked and rechecked his calculations while drinking his 8th cup of coffee. "It will work," Ellie assured him, placing a hand on his shoulder. The test on the small scale was perfect. They had used a tiny model of the light manipulation system to disrupt a sample of material from a Jacquard probe that had landed on Earth months earlier. The material had glowed brightly, then dissolved. "The small scale is one thing," Carter said, "but their ship is massive and probably has defenses we don't know about." "We have to try," Olivia said from her workstation. "The satellite network is at 87% completion. We should be ready just before their deadline." The hours ticked by. Around the world, people waited in fear. Many didn't know about the Sunflare project. They only knew that aliens had threatened to take over their world and time was running out. 10 hours before the deadline, the Jacquard ship began to move. It left its orbit around Earth and positioned itself directly above New York City. It hung there, a silent threat visible to millions of people below. "They're trying to scare us," Mason said during an emergency meeting with world leaders. "But we stick to the plan. At the deadline, we will appear to surrender. Representatives will gather in major cities as they requested. Then, when the moment is right, we activate Sunflare." "And if it doesn't work?" someone asked. Mason didn't answer. Everyone knew what failure would mean. With just 2 hours remaining, Carter made a final adjustment to the system. "The network is ready," he told Ellie and Olivia. "All 218 satellites are in position and calibrated." Ellie checked the data on her screen. Energy levels optimal. Targeting systems locked on the Jacquard ship. "Now we wait," Olivia said quietly. Around the world, people gathered in designated areas. In New York, thousands stood in Central Park, looking up at the alien ship floating above them. In other cities, similar scenes played out. It looked like Earth was preparing for surrender. In the ICC Command Center, Admiral Mason watched the clock count down. Carter, Ellie, and Olivia stood beside him, along with military leaders from a dozen countries. 30 minutes, Mason announced. "Send the message," a communications officer spoke into a microphone. "Ambassador Vexitool, this is Earth Command. We are prepared to discuss the terms of our surrender." The large screen lit up, showing Vexitool's alien face. "There are no terms to discuss. You will obey or be pacified. Our ship is now in position to release the activation signal for the nanobots." "We understand," Mason said, forcing himself to sound defeated. "We just need a few more minutes to gather our representatives." "You have 10 minutes, Vexitool said coldly. "Then we begin the new era of Earth." The screen went dark. Mason looked at Carter. "Is Sunflare ready?" Carter nodded, his finger hovering over a button on his tablet. "Ready, Admiral." "Then God help us all," Mason said. "Prepare to fire on my command." The countdown continued. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. Mason took a deep breath. "Now." Carter pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. The command center was silent. Everyone held their breath. Carter stared at his tablet, checking to make sure the signal had gone through to all the satellites. System activation confirmed, Olivia said, watching her monitor. All satellites responding. Outside in the sky above Earth, 2 and 18 satellites turned their special laser arrays toward the Jacquard ship. At exactly the same instant, they fired. The beams were invisible to the human eye at first, operating on wavelengths beyond normal vision. Energy pattern established, Ellie reported. The interference web is forming. On screens around the command center, they could see the space around the Jacquard ship beginning to shimmer. It looked like heat waves rising from hot pavement, but in the cold vacuum of space. Are they responding? Mason asked. A communications officer shook her head. No reaction yet, sir. For nearly a minute, nothing seemed to change. Then suddenly, the Jacquard ship pulsed with bright blue light. They've noticed, Carter said, his voice tense. They're trying to move. The massive alien vessel began to drift sideways, as if trying to escape the invisible web of light surrounding it. But the satellite network adjusted automatically, keeping the interference pattern centered on the ship. It's working, Olivia whispered. Their engines can't function properly. The ship pulsed again, brighter this time. Strange patterns of light rippled across its surface. It reminded Mason of oil on water swirling with colors that shouldn't be there. They're trying to communicate, said the communications officer. Audio only. Put it through, Mason ordered. Ambassador Vex Tool's voice filled the room, but it sounded distorted, like it was coming through a bad connection. What? Doing? Cease immediately. They can't maintain a clear signal, Ellie said with growing excitement. The interference is affecting all their systems, not just propulsion. Mason leaned toward the microphone. Ambassador Vextol, this is Admiral Mason. We have discovered the true nature of your technology. Your light manipulation systems are currently being disrupted by our satellite network. Impo-bly, came the broken response. Primitives can't. This primitive species just did, Mason replied. Now, deactivate any weapons you have targeted at Earth and prepare to leave our solar system. If you agree, we will allow you safe passage. The ship's surface was now rippling visibly, even to the naked eye. People in cities around the world looked up and pointed. The Jacquard vessel glowed brighter and brighter. Energy readings are off the charts, Carter reported, his eyes wide. Something's happening inside the ship, some kind of chain reaction. Can they still fire weapons at us? Mason asked urgently. Ellie shook her head. I don't think they can do anything right now. Their whole system is in chaos. On the main screen, they could see the Jacquard ship beginning to spin slowly. Bright spots appeared on its surface like holes being punched in its hull from the inside. Should we stop? Olivia asked, looking worried. If their ship explodes in our atmosphere, Carter checked his readings. No, we can't stop now. If we break the interference pattern, they might recover. Besides, I don't think it's going to explode exactly. What do you mean exactly? Mason demanded. Before Carter could answer, Vex Tull's voice came through again, clearer this time, as if they had found a way to partially adapt to the interference. You will regret this, the alien said. Others will come. The collective spans dozens of star systems. We have done this before, to many worlds. Mason's eyes narrowed. Done what before? Pretended to be more advanced than we are, Vextool admitted. Found species on the edge of space travel, convinced them we were gods, made them surrender without fighting. Easy conquest. Ellie and Carter exchanged shocked looks. You're not as advanced as you claimed, Mason said, understanding dawning. On him. Advanced enough to conquer you, Vextol snarled. Until now. How did you discover the light manipulation? Good science, Carter couldn't help saying. And because you made a mistake. You showed off too much. The ship was now glowing, so brightly that cameras had trouble focusing on it. The spin had increased and more holes were appearing in its surface. Status report, Mason demanded. The ship's containment systems are failing, Ellie said. Their power source appears to use compressed light energy, and our interference pattern is causing it to destabilize. In simple terms, please, Mason said. They're losing control of their own technology, Carter explained. It's like we've created a resonance that's amplifying inside their systems. The more they try to fix it, the worse it gets. Vexitul's voice came through once more, now barely audible over static. Fools! If our ship fails completely, the release of energy will destroy your city. He's bluffing again, Olivia said, checking her readings. Most of the energy should be directed upward, away from Earth. Most? Mason asked. 97% confidence, she replied. Mason made a quick decision. Keep Sunflare active. Full power. The Jacquard ship was now a blinding ball of light above New York City. People covered their eyes, but still tried to watch the incredible sight. The ship no longer looked solid. It seemed to be dissolving, its edges blurring into the surrounding space. Final warning, came Vexitul's voice, now eerily calm. Deactivate your interference system, and we will leave your solar system forever. So you can come back with more ships? Mason replied. I don't think so. Carter suddenly grabbed Mason's arm. Sir, the readings have changed. The ship's core is reaching critical levels. Whatever happens next will happen very soon. Mason nodded. Warn everyone to look away from the sky, he ordered. Possible bright flash imminent. Emergency broadcasts went out worldwide. In New York and other cities, police and soldiers told people to take cover and shield their eyes. In the Jacquard ship, Ambassador Vextul stared at the failing controls around him. The bridge was filled with flashing lights and alarms. His crew worked desperately to stabilize their systems, but nothing helped. How? He wondered aloud. How did primitives defeat us? For the first time, he felt fear of the humans. Perhaps they were not primitives after all. In the command center, Carter watched his readings spike. Here it comes, he said. Above Earth, the Jacquard ship seemed to pause in its violent motion. For a brief moment it grew perfectly still and silent. Then it began to glow even brighter than before, the light changing from blue to white, to an impossible brilliance that no human eye could look at directly. Energy levels beyond measurement, Ellie reported, shielding her eyes from even the screen's representation. Then, in an instant that seemed both sudden and stretched out forever, the ship vanished. There was no explosion, no sound, no shockwave. Just an intense flash of light that briefly turned night into day across half the planet. And then, nothing. Where the massive alien vessel had been, there was only empty sky. For several seconds, no one in the command center spoke. They stared at their screens in disbelief. Did we just vaporize them? Someone finally asked. Carter shook his head, his expression a mixture of awe and scientific curiosity. Not exactly. I think their ship's containment field collapsed completely. All that compressed light energy they used for power was released at once. They turned into light, Ellie said softly. They became the very thing they tried to control. Mason looked at the empty radar screens. Are they gone? Really gone? Olivia checked all her readings. No debris, no radiation, no sign of the ship at all. It's like it was never there. A cheer began to build around the room. People hugged each other, some cried with relief. The Jacquard threat was over, but Admiral Mason didn't join the celebration. He looked at Carter, Ellie, and Olivia, the scientists who had saved Earth. Is it really over? He asked quietly. Vextul said there were others. Carter nodded seriously. He did, and now we need to be ready for them. Outside, around the world, people looked up at the sky with new eyes. The stars no longer seemed so peaceful, but neither did they seem as threatening as before. Earth had faced its first alien challenge and survived. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and no longer defenseless. 6 months had passed since the Jacquard ship vanished in a flash of light. The world had changed in many ways. Countries that had fought for centuries now worked together. The fear of alien threats had united humanity in a way nothing else could. How Dr. Ellie Summers stood on the roof of the new Global Defense Headquarters, looking up at the night sky. The building had once been the ICC headquarters, but it had been expanded and renamed. Now it was the center of Earth's preparation for whatever might come from the stars. "Beautiful night," said Admiral Mason, joining her at the railing. He looked older than he had 6 months ago. The responsibility of leading Earth's defense plans weighed heavily on him. "Very," Ellie agreed. "Hard to believe there are other civilizations out there, looking at these same stars. And possibly planning to visit us again," Mason said grimly. They stood in silence for a moment, both thinking about what they had learned since the Jacquard incident. In the days after the alien ship disappeared, scientists had discovered something interesting. The nanobots that Vextol had threatened them with did exist, but not in the way he had claimed. They were real, but they had only been deployed in very small numbers, mainly in government buildings and military bases. They were designed to gather information, not to control humans. When the Jacquard ship vanished, the nanobots had stopped working. Carter and his team had collected them and studied their technology. What they learned had been surprising and valuable. "How's the satellite network coming along?" Ellie asked. "Better than expected," Mason replied. "We now have 500 Sunflare satellites in orbit. If another ship like the Jacquard's appears, we'll be ready for it." "And the research division?" Mason smiled slightly. "Why don't you ask Carter yourself? He's waiting for us in the lab. Says he has something important to show us." They took the elevator down to the underground levels where the most important research happened. The labs were busy even at night. Scientists from around the world worked in shifts, studying alien technology and developing new defenses. Dr. William Carter and Olivia Martinez were in the main lab, examining something on a large table. They looked up when Mason and Ellie entered. "There you are," Carter said, waving them over excitedly. "We've made a breakthrough." "What kind of breakthrough?" Ellie asked, joining them at the table. Carter pointed to what looked like a small glass cube sitting on the table. Inside the cube, light moved in strange patterns, swirling like liquid. "We've managed to recreate the Jacquard's light compression technology on a small scale," he explained. "It's based on what we learned from the nanobots and our observations of their ship." Olivia nodded. "The principles weren't as complicated as we thought. The Jacquard had some advanced technology, yes, but their real advantage was that they discovered certain properties of light that we hadn't yet. Once we understood those properties, we could reproduce the effects." "What can it do?" Mason asked, looking at the cube cautiously. "Right now, just store energy," Carter said. "But eventually, this technology could power cities, spacecraft, maybe even faster than light communication." "So we're already catching up to their level," Ellie said, impressed. "In some ways, yes," Carter agreed. "But there's something else we discovered, something more immediate." He walked over to a computer and typed in some commands. A large screen on the wall lit up, showing a star map. 3 days ago, the Deep Space Listening Array picked up a signal, he said. "It wasn't from the direction of the Jacquard home system. It came from here." He pointed to a star about 30 light-years from Earth. "Another alien species?" Mason asked, suddenly alert. "We think so," Olivia said. "But this signal is different from the Jacquard communications. It's simpler, more direct. Almost like a warning," Ellie finished, studying the signal pattern. On the screen, Carter nodded. "Exactly. We've been working on translating it, and while we don't have all of it yet, the basic message seems clear. They're warning us about the Jacquard Collective." "But the Jacquard are gone," Mason said. "Their ship was destroyed." "That ship was destroyed," Olivia corrected. "But remember what Vextol said at the end? The Collective spans dozens of star systems. They've conquered other worlds before." A chill ran through the room as the implications sank in. "So there could be more Jacquard ships out there," Ellie said quietly. "Maybe heading for Earth right now." "It's possible," Carter admitted. "But there's good news too. The message includes information about the Jacquard fleet. They don't have many ships, and the ships are spread thin across multiple star systems. And now we know how to defeat them." Mason frowned. But if they know we destroyed one of their ships, they'll come prepared. Next time, they won't make the same mistakes. That's true, Carter said. But neither will we. He pressed another button, and the screen changed to show technical diagrams. These are designs for a new type of ship, based partly on Jacquard technology, partly on our own innovations. Ellie leaned forward, examining the diagrams with growing excitement. You think we can build this? I know we can, Carter said confidently. We've already started work on a prototype. How long until it's ready? Mason asked. 9 months for the first test vessel, Olivia said. It won't be large, but it will have working light manipulation engines. We could reach Mars in hours instead of months. Mason nodded slowly. And after that? After that, Carter said, the stars. They all looked at the star map again, thinking about what it meant. Humanity was no longer alone, no longer isolated on one small planet. There were dangers. Out there, yes, but also possibilities. There's one more thing, Ellie said, turning to Mason. Those signals from the new alien civilization, they sent coordinates. I think they're inviting us to meet them. Meet them? Mason raised his eyebrows. After what happened with the Jacquard, you want to meet another alien species? Not all. Aliens will be like the Jacquard, Ellie said firmly. These ones warned us. They reached out to help. I think we should respond. Mason thought for a long moment, then nodded. Prepare a message, but let's be careful about what we share this time. Already working on it, Olivia said. A simple greeting, an acknowledgement of their warning, and a thank you. Nothing that reveals too much about our capabilities. As they discussed the message details, Ellie walked to the window that looked out into the main research area. Dozens of scientists worked on different projects, all focused on preparing Earth for its new place in the galaxy. Some studied Jacquard technology, others developed new defense systems. A few worked on long-range communication methods. Just 6 months ago, these same brilliant minds had been working on separate projects around the world. Now they worked together with a common purpose. The Jacquard had meant to conquer Earth to enslave humanity. Instead, they had united it. They mocked us, Ellie said softly. Called us primitives, and now they're gone, and we're still here. Carter joined her at the window. And we're stronger than before. What do you think is out there? She asked. Beyond the stars we can see? I don't know, Carter admitted. But I think we're ready to find out. Outside the building, people went about their lives in the city below. Most didn't know about the new signal, the warning from another world. They didn't know about the ships being designed or the defenses being built. But they knew their world had changed. They had seen an alien ship appear in their sky and vanish in a flash of light. They knew they were not alone in the universe. And somehow that made the night sky seem both more frightening and more full of promise than ever before. Humanity looked up at the stars with new eyes, no longer just wondering what was out there, but preparing to find out. The universe had tried to conquer them and failed. Now it was their turn to reach out, carefully, cautiously, but confidently. The age of Earth alone was over. The age of Earth among the stars had begun.